Hey, everybody.
Hi, I'm Dr. Burris.
I'm Dr. Kim, and we are Coachella Valley Direct Primary Care with our COVID 19 update for the Coachella Valley.
Yes, today is September 27th of 2021, and we're heading into fall here in the valley. It's down to 82 degrees. So,
That's a big change for us,
yes, I'm enjoying it quite a bit, actually.
although it's still a bit humid some days. But
True, but it's nice to have this fall weather, I think.
so,
Yeah.
how are you today?
Doing okay. It's Monday morning, so kind of getting back in the groove of everything, catching up on all the work. So overall, good. You?
Good. Monday's always kind of a reset, figure out what to do, figure out what you didn't do last week, and then see if you can get that done. But otherwise, it's a good Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are we in our COVID situation right now for the valley? The answer to that question is inching forward. I think we're moving in the right direction still, slowly but surely. So I thought I'd start actually with a slide on vaccination progress. And this is again from our county's website. And what we can see is a continued improvement here in the number of people who are vaccinated. We're heading towards 60% of our population fully vaccinated, which is great. And we have about 65% of our um, population partially or fully vaccinated. It does seem like we are stuck here in the 50s and 60s. We don't seem to have gotten beyond that. And so I haven't seen any dedicated vaccine outreach in the county over the last month. Have you, other than just the usual
No, I haven't
vaccine?
seen the push. I think it's now just kind of PR and go online and go to the local
Yeah,
pharmacy.
I think that they did, before school started, there were some back to school type of events for teachers and school staff, as well as targeting um, for kids in that 12 and up age range. So they were trying to make things available at school. But really, I think we need a much more visible and dedicated outreach to those communities that are not yet vaccinated, both to find out, what are the holdups? Is it access? Is it um, vaccine hesitancy? Not just assume that we know what it is in our area.
Right.
So, like, figuring out where's our problems, and then as a community, making effort to sort of address those problems, or else we'll focus on giving boosters to people who already have vaccines and still not improve our overall numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
I did was out and about, running through some golf country clubs, trying to see if I could renew some certificates. And some of the large organizations are gearing up for their flu shots, and they're going to
Mm-hmm.
have um, large flu clinic days in these country clubs, which makes sense for retired people, but no mention of COVID at all. So I wish they would kind of do co-marketing with saying, hey, if you haven't got your COVID shot, you can get it here,
Yeah.
but we also recommend getting your flu shot. So
And, that brings up another good question that I'm sure a lot of people have. And it's, hey, if I'm due for my booster, when I go in to get my flu shot, is it okay to get them at the same time? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. It doesn't affect the way either vaccine works if you do them together. Um, you probably will have two sore arms instead of just one sore arm. That's the major downside. So it depends. And then if you had to choose one, like say, I only want to do one at a time, which one should I get first? Which one would you choose?
if it's a booster, I'd choose the flu shot. If it's a vaccine, I'd say COVID, your first COVID.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. If you're not willing to do both shots at the same time and it's just the booster dose, get your flu shot and then get your booster for COVID whenever you want it. There's no recommended time frame you have to wait. You can get it anytime. So,
You want to go to the other?
yeah, let's do the other slides.
Is there anything else you want to talk about this one?
Nah.
We had a little technical difficulty.
Yeah. So here's our daily epidemiology study. And again, the county has been a bit slow about putting things out. So this is last Friday. But what we see here is a pretty solid data reporting day. So it's helpful to sort of understand where we are. We had 648 new cases reported out last Friday and 18 deaths reported out last Friday. Again, there is a little lag in the reporting out of the deaths. So we'll probably see deaths be reported out even after our hospital numbers go down, because those hospital numbers are reported real time, but the deaths take a week or two to be reported officially. So that's why sometimes there's seems like a disconnect there between number of deaths and what looks like happening in our current hospitalizations. We still actually have a very high number of people in the ICU in the county. If you look at that, we've only got 422 people in the hospital, but 117 of them are in the ICU. And this reflects the fact that, again, there's this lag as transmission rates go down, our hospital numbers go down, but the people who are in the ICU stay for a long time. So that number is the very last number that we're going to see start to come down. And that's why it's such a celebration when that ICU number gets down to zero. We got there before the Delta wave hit, so it will happen again. Epidemiology curves go up and they go down. And right now we're in a nice downward trend. So if you look down at the bottom of this slide, we'll go all the way down to our positivity rates. And again, we're seeing this slow creep back down. Our latest positivity rate's at 6.6. So again, slowly inching back down. It just seems like this is not a fast recovery from the Delta wave. It's a slow recovery, but we are moving back in the right direction. Let's look at our weekly report. Again, this lags, so this is the same one that we got to look at last week. This is from the week ending in September 19th. But this just reminds you of where we are in the valley. We still have a moderately high transmission rate. There's still, hundreds and hundreds of people out there who have COVID right now who may or may not know it. And so this is why we're still recommending that people wear masks indoors, and especially in large groups of people, because there's still transmission going on and we're trying to break those chains of transmission so that our numbers go back down even farther. So this is all I have for slides today. Dr. Kim, are you preparing to get a booster shot? And if not, why not?
Am I preparing to get a booster shot? I'll get it. Am I in a hurry? Not. I'm not going to run out this week.
You can't anyway.
You could.
You couldn't. I wanted to talk about the Moderna thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so yes, you said booster. You didn't say. So let's kind of take a high level. So boosters are out, right? The recommendations are out, and it's pretty broad. Right.
It is, but it's only available for people who had Pfizer as an initial
So then
if
we go down a little bit more down the recommendations, you technically can't get a booster if you haven't got a Pfizer shot, because Pfizer is the only company that put the data in. Now, I am by no means an expert on all this, but the reasons I think is because Pfizer is a multi-billion-dollar company that can do these studies and submit all these things. Moderna is a very small company that just came out, I believe, with
for
for
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
So their data is always going to lag because they don't have the manpower nor the resources to submit as much as Pfizer does. So
Quickly.
right. So
Yeah. So if you've got 10 people in your data production department versus 80 people,
right.
your ability to process large data sets is less. So I agree with you. I think that's one reason that Moderna seems to lag a bit. But they did make an announcement that they're getting ready to um, apply for their booster EUA approval from the FDA. So that's good. That's going to get presented to the FDA probably. My guess is within the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So we'll probably see something coming out about Moderna at least within the next month.
Right.
This is not an emergency in my mind at all.
Right.
Because our protection from the initial 2-shot series is still really good for Moderna. And it's really good for Pfizer against, again, hospitalization and death.
Right.
It's not 100%. It never has been 100%. I'd like to put that out there. Just because someone who got vaccinated gets sick or dies does not mean the vaccines aren't working and aren't doing exactly what they were designed to do.
Right. They're not as good as we had hoped they'd be, but it doesn't mean they're not phenomenal.
No, they're
still
better than we hoped they would
well,
be.
in the end results of no deaths, not spreading it. Stuff
there's
like that.
never been a vaccine that's 100%. I mean, that no one ever hoped for that.
Right.
Only people who hoped for that were people who didn't know how things work.
Well, we were hoping that you would prevent spread. That we were.
And it does, though.
Yeah, but not to the degree that we wanted.
Yeah, I guess. Are there more breakthrough cases with Delta? Yes. But is this vaccine performing as well as most of the vaccines we have? Yeah, it's outperforming almost every vaccine we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think people's expectations for what the vaccine would do were so high because of its efficacy at the very beginning of the pandemic. And if we had been able to get our population vaccinated before Delta hit and prevented Delta from forming, we wouldn't be still talking about COVID anymore. We'd be done.
Right.
So this is kind of a warning sign, though, because if we don't get our butts in gear as a world and prevent the development of a new strain, we're still going to be doing this show in 3 years, which I would prefer not to be doing. I'd rather be talking about something else. So, I don't know why I went off on that tangent. Just a little concern.
Anyway, the boosters. So, this is totally a personal recommendation. So, just my thoughts, not even a recommendation. My thoughts are, I don't think the studies are going to show that if you mix the two, Pfizer and Moderna, you're going to get very bad outcomes or not or change enough that they're not going to recommend that. I know they're doing that right now because they only have data submitted for each individual one, but they're so similar in how they're made. I would be shocked that if down the road we don't find the data shows that you can interchange. Don't do that right now. That's not the recommendation, but I'm just putting that out there.
Right. And in fact, in order to do that right now, people would have to lie. So we do not recommend that. There are some countries who are doing that just because of availability issues, and they aren't seeing any problems with it.
I think India is one of those. And
so is the UK. Yeah. So I think that you're right. I think down the road we'll probably do this. It'll be interesting to see what Moderna's data is, because I heard a rumor that their booster dose was going to be different than their original dose. They might actually do a lower dose. Other good news is we've heard that Pfizer is preparing their application for the 5 to 11 age groups. So hopefully that is actually going to be coming out, and they will apply for that in the next week. I'm hopeful. That'll be really, really a big step towards getting things back to normal. I know a lot of people have just kind of decided that they're over it and they're back to normal and they're basically making absolutely no changes in their life based on pandemic. But there still are a lot of people who are trying to protect vulnerable people and around them in their families and who still care about doing that. So for them, um, don't give up. We're really, we're like in mile 24 of a marathon. It's like we got a couple left, but we've done the vast majority of the work, at least to get to this point. And so we just got to finish the race. We just got to keep going and get, the last, 15% of our population that are, persuadable to get vaccinated. We have to get our kids protected. We have to keep going with sort of new treatments and therapies, especially in early disease, to keep people
Right.
out of the hospital, because this is really going to be around with us forever. COVID is never going to be gone completely. So we want to get to the point where 3 years from now, when I'm a doctor and you come in and you have COVID, I have a solution for my high risk patient to keep them out of the hospital that's effective.
Right.
And right now we have monoclonal antibodies as our best option, but that's thousands of dollars. So I would like to have something that's maybe cheaper, maybe an oral medicine like we have for flu, that I can do to help keep it from becoming a huge problem.
Right. So my opinion, I know I like to throw my opinion around, but this is our show. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to keep hitting these bumps. We're going to keep hitting. Now, the altitude or the greatness of the bump is going to depend on a new strain. If it's no new strain, then the bumps will get lower. But they're going to coincide with, like we've seen last year, big dates. Thanksgiving, Christmas, all these things that there are people out there, like you said, that are unvaccinated or even the vaccinated that aren't being as careful as they could be. You're going to see these little spikes, and they'll be, smaller and smaller and smaller until they get to the point where either they're just a nuisance or we've come out with things that we can treat people with. But
Well, I think even like flu, it's a nuisance to the country, but it's devastating to certain families.
right.
So it, as a doctor, we get to see the devastation for certain people. So to us, calling it a nuisance is sometimes, offensive, because we see people grieving. But we know that on a countrywide level, there's an economic impact. People get sick, they have to stay home from work, they have to stay home from school. It causes problems. It costs money to take care of all these sick people. But it doesn't shut us down. And so I think it'll get to that point. I think you're right. We're still going to have these little blips. But for some people, it is going to be a devastating illness.
It is, and I didn't mean to trivialize that, but I meant as a global country, you've been living as flu, right? We've been living as flu as what we allow, what we tolerate every winter. We tolerate 15,000 people deaths.
Yeah.
And so once COVID approaches that, because it's still nowhere near that, it's still much worse than the flu.
Yeah.
But as we approach that, I think that's when, we'll be able to operate more like we did before. I don't want to say normal, because I think I would like to see us not be normal anymore, in the sense that in flu season, we've shown we can push flu to zero. Why don't we want to do that every flu season? Why don't we want to say, if you have any kind of respiratory illness, stay home for 2-3 days. Don't go to work. Don't go to school. It's not, that will save lives. That will actually save people from spreading it around. And
Jeff asked a good question, which is, will we see a decrease in colds and flu if everyone's wearing their masks? And I think what you just said is actually a really good answer to that. If everyone wears our masks, we'll see some improvement. But last year we really almost saw zero flu, and it wasn't, some people think it's because we're calling all the flu COVID. No, we actually have specific tests for each, and we test for both. So it was because COVID is so much more infectious than flu, and all the mitigation that we put in place to try to deal with this super infectious virus actually just eliminated flu last year. It's like, and probably the most powerful thing was people staying home when they were sick. So if you stay home when you're sick and wear masks, especially in crowded indoor settings, yeah, we could have like, no flu deaths. That would be so great.
Right.
And it's a cultural shift of accepting staying home when you have a mild respiratory illness. So maybe I don't have a 105 fever. Maybe I only have a 99 fever and a sore throat and a headache and a runny nose and a cough. Staying home at that time prevents the rapid spread of that illness, whether it's a cold or flu or COVID, right, through your workplace, through the grocery store, through your kids' schools. And it's that attention to those milder illnesses that has really been so effective. Right. And culturally, I think it's probably more acceptable now to wear a mask in public. So in a lot of cultures, if you have any cold symptoms, it's considered polite if you have a mask on. If you were to have a runny nose and cough and sneeze on an elevator in Japan, you would be like, a pariah. Like, how dare you bring your germs in and, expose everybody. Right. And I'm hoping that maybe we'll adopt some of that mentality where it's considered better societal, you're a good neighbor if you don't come, or if you at least wear a mask, right, if you have some symptoms. Right. And now that we have the ability to work from home in so many businesses, I'm hoping that we hold on to that ethic, right, of maybe working from home when we're sick if possible, and if not possible, staying home, just to help protect our community.
Right. And I think the same goes for hand washing, and maybe not the obsessiveness of cleaning things, but still cleaning things, because we can prevent colds, diarrhea diseases, and all those other things.
Yeah. In fact, the diarrheal disease, we don't talk about it much. It's like not culturally cool to talk about diarrhea, but as a doctor, we see it run through the community multiple times a year, causes a lot of missed work, causes a lot of missed school. So just hand washing alone could knock out the great majority of it. Right. Yeah.
So I think we probably reached that time. Yes, okay. We need to go to our other show, Your Personal Health. But we wanted to update you guys. The numbers are coming down. That's great. We don't know what they are, but we have a feeling they're going to keep going down. The boosters. If you have a Pfizer shot, then you can get your booster. So again, if it's your booster, then get your flu shot. If you don't want to get two, there's no reason you can't get both. Consider getting a COVID shot if you haven't gotten one already. And the data for the kids are coming out. Keep doing what you're doing. What we're doing is working. So, keep doing it.
Keeping on.
Yep. And we'll see you guys next week.